Honorable Minister Pando, speakers of SADC parliaments, Premier Senzo Mchunu, Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Rasiriti Tau, honorable members of SADC parliaments. I want to also specifically mention my colleagues from the Office of the Speaker who assist the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker in their job, and these are the honorable House Chairpersons, the three of them who are sitting in front here. These are what is called in other parliaments assistant speakers, also assisting by way of focusing on various other duties of that office. The Honorable Buroto at the corner is taking care of international relations matters. Honorable Frolic deals with issues of committees, all the committees in the National Assembly, and Honorable Tokoti Diza assists in matters specifically focused at members' facilities and interests and making life easy in terms of MPs being able to do their job. So that's in addition to presiding, which I dare say is the most challenging of the jobs that we have. But we have a lot more work that we do than presiding. Of course, in front here are people who are going to be addressing us, and so they will be introduced at that point. But it is, and of course I must mention the ad hoc committee members. There's an ad hoc committee of both houses in Parliament that was created precisely to come through the country wherever we experienced what Premier Mchunu was talking about, and just try and come to terms with and gather information and understanding on this phenomenon. Whether you call it xenophobic attacks or it's the broader issues that we will be able to break open through this roundtable this afternoon. Those members are with us here this afternoon, and I don't know where they are, who they are, but may they please stand. Thank you very much, honorable members. So they'll be all over the place, and they'll bring back a report to Parliament for us to come closer to this and see what it is we need to do. Having greeted everyone, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this seminal roundtable discussion on migration and development, a subject that has become so overwhelmingly critical and urgent to all of us across the world, especially in Africa and the region in particular. It is my hope that the ensuing discussions will help us to draw much needed attention to the complex migration and displacement challenges facing the African continent. Migration crosses international, regional, and national boundaries. It is an issue that affects all policy areas: economics, politics, social policy, and security. For these reasons, this issue should be addressed at an international, continental, and regional level, as we are doing today. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a paradox in the debate on statelessness and migration. And some of us have lived through an experience of being stateless. So statelessness and migration, which we have to address head on if we are to make significant headway. In relation to GDP, Africa has been the fastest growing region in the last decade and has recorded remarkable economic success stories. As Africans, we have managed to overcome many of the obstacles created by a world economic order that to date has not been shaped to care for African development and interests. Developing countries face far greater challenges, and it should be noted that they have to date responded to refugees and migrants in ways that are humane and compatible with international human rights instruments. This fundamental commitment to protection and migration is clearly reflected in the African Union's excellent legal framework on forced displacement. The Africa Common Position locates migration within the broader discourse of sustainable development, which emphasizes regional economic integration, cooperation, and development. Our role as parliaments is to ensure that our governments comply with the commitments they enter into and which we as parliaments ratify. Looking at the state of refugee and migrant protection in Africa today, I am struck by the strong African solidarity with neighbors. All host countries affected by the large crises of recent years have kept their borders open to allow refugee and migrant protection. At a personal level, as a person who was displaced as a result of an unjust apartheid regime, and many of us here have had that experience, I've been deeply moved by the hospitality of communities who take in thousands of new arrivals, although they are struggling to make ends meet. And I'm sure Speaker Professor Kachavivi would also attest to this experience. Since the advent of democracy, South Africa, like other countries in the region, has taken a progressive approach to migration. The recent incidences of violence on foreign nationals in the country, which occurred just a few months ago, however, suggest that we need a more focused approach to manage migration, whilst simultaneously addressing the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality that our people continue to face. As the SADC master plan envisages, we need to do more to ensure that citizens view migration as strategic rather than negative. As we go forward, we as Africans, together with the international community, must tackle these challenges, going to the root causes of the problems and not merely papering over the symptoms. We should therefore focus on two things: prevention and solutions. As parliamentarians, we have to ensure that our respective governments have the requisite legal instruments in place to deal with the displacement and migration. The SADC Parliamentary Forum in particular has to advocate for a regional policy framework to govern migration in SADC, as there is currently no overall regional policy in place. The challenges of displacement and migration are clearly not an issue which only governments can deal with. This requires the effective participation of stakeholders, including civil society and international organizations which deal with displacement and migration. Parliaments have the ability to bring such stakeholders together and must be seen to consistently do so in order to open up dialogue and ensure that our respective governments deal with such matters humanely and effectively. The call, ladies and gentlemen, that I would like to make here today is for an enhanced compact of solidarity. Let us show the commitment that is necessary to put displacement and migration in Africa higher on the international agenda. In the interest of social stability, balanced regional integration, and equitable development, it is imperative to have a strong regional perspective on the issue of migration in all its forms. The implementation of Agenda 2063 and the SADC Master Plan are most important hopes in ensuring that lasting peace is attained by addressing various factors that continue to undermine Africa's determination to rise. This is not just a question of continental solidarity and shared human commitment. It is also one of global peace and security. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.